Hey, welcome back. Andrew Finney here. So Zillow just downgraded their housing market forecast yet again. This is the 5th time this year, and this was a big one. Plus, home values in 30 of the 50 biggest U.S. metros are rapidly declining. All of this has new home builders running scared. We'll talk about that and more coming up. As always, timestamps and resources are linked in the description below this video because I value your time and I appreciate you being here. All right, I know you're busy, so bookmark this video if you need to, and if not, let's make the most of your time. Zillow published its updated home sales forecast on August 18th. The first paragraph says Zillow's home value forecast expects a significant slowdown in annual home value growth as measured by the raw Zillow Home Value Index from the current rate of 16% to 2.4%. Now, keep in mind what they're referring to is deceleration versus depreciation, but hold that thought. We'll circle back on it in just a bit. This is the 5th time Zillow downgraded its housing forecast this year. So perhaps it won't be long until they start talking about home price depreciation versus deceleration. But for now, let's continue with the report. In this line, you can see where they say this is the most significant update from last month's forecast of 6.9% through June 2023. Now, we just talked about that report and others in the housing market update video I published on August 5th. I'm sharing this with you because the housing market is moving rapidly, and it's essential to stay on top of what's happening so it doesn't move out from underneath you like quicksand. Let's look at two more things in this report before we get into 30 of the 50 biggest US metros experiencing declining home values right now. Zillow also says the nation's median home value fell 0.1% in July from June, the first monthly downtick since 2012, and it has seen monthly growth decelerate from a recent peak of 1.9% in April. As some people might remember, February 2012 was the bottom of the housing market from the 2008 crash before it started rebounding. Now, I don't know about you, but I remember vividly what I was doing in February 2012. The reason why is that's the year that I bought my first home in Las Vegas. And no, I wasn't a real estate agent back then. I didn't get licensed until late 2013, but that's a different story. Many people back then were talking about how much lower the housing market could go, and all I knew is I just wanted to own the roof over my head and stop paying rent, so I didn't really care. I just wanted to own the house. Some of you might feel that way right now too. If so, drop a line below. By the way, if you're learning anything from my videos, please consider subscribing to my channel. It really means a lot to me. Tell me how I'm doing and what you want to see next in the comments. Thank you. Okay, so let's go over the last thing in the Zillow report before moving on to the cities dropping home value like someone dropping coin in a Las Vegas casino. Zillow is now forecasting 5.3 million existing home sales in calendar year 2022, which would reflect a 14.1% decrease from 2021. It also reflects recent market changes and continued weakness and leading indicators of the metric. As a reason why, they said it's because sales dropped faster than anticipated in June, while July saw weaker than expected pending home sales and mortgage application. It's hard to believe that we saw buyers overpaying for homes above and beyond their appraised value just to get the house they wanted only 1 year ago. Now it seems buyers just can't be bothered, and it has builders flustered. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. There's an enormous shift in the housing market and home buying mentality. One thing is for sure, there will definitely be winners and losers in this real estate market. Whether you win or lose will depend on the course of action you choose. We'll look at some big mistakes people could be making in just a moment. Let's look at 30 of the 50 biggest US metros with declining home values right now. This report is also courtesy of Zillow in their post from August 18th titled Buyers Gaining Time and Options as Housing Market Rebalances. In the post, Zillow says after 2 years of unprecedented growth, national home values fell slightly month over month for the first time since 2012, the year home values hit a trough after the housing bubble. Perhaps more telling is their headline, Prices Fall for the First Time in a Decade, with a typical U.S. home value now at $357,107 after declining 0.1% month over month in July as measured by the raw Zillow Home Value Index, or ZHVI for short. Okay, to save you some time, I'll link the post in the description under this video in case you want to check out all 30 metros that are losing home value right now. However, for the purpose of this video, let's focus on the top 10 metros currently losing property value. San Jose leads the loser pack with negative 4.5% in decreased home value from June to July. The next top metros of the biggest losers chart are Phoenix, Arizona at negative 2.8%, San Francisco, California at negative 2.8%, Austin, Texas at negative 2.7%, Sacramento, California at negative 2.5%, San Diego, California at negative 2.5%, Raleigh, North Carolina at negative 2.5%, Riverside, California at negative 2.4%, Denver, Colorado at negative 1.8%, Portland, Oregon at negative 1.7%, and routing off number 11 just because I live, work, and play here, Las Vegas at negative 1.4%. So what we're really looking at are some of the hottest US metros that were leading the charge in home price appreciation over the last couple of years. But as we know, what goes up must come down at some point. So now they act like an early warning signal for the housing market by becoming the early losers in the shifting real estate market. So it is worth noting, just like a potentially high returning stock trade, the more significant the potential upside, the larger the potential downside. The real estate markets that saw the biggest jump in home values might also see some of the most significant drops. We'll keep watch on this moving forward. Let's see how many more times Zillow decides to downgrade their housing market forecast this year, and we'll also keep tabs on CoreLogic, Redfin, and Realtor.com to see what they have to say. Talking about warning signs, have you noticed how many price reductions are happening in your local market? Or how many times the builders are slashing their prices? That's coming up. I'll even show you an email I received recently from a prominent builder with the steep price cuts they are now making to entice would-be homebuyers. Look, if you gotta run, that's okay. Just bookmark this video and come back to it later. You won't want to miss what comes next. But first, let's talk about homebuyers dropping out of the real estate market. Given the fast and furious changes in an increasingly volatile housing market, it seems like many would-be homebuyers are taking a wait-and-see approach to buy a home. But should they? Consider this post by CNBC. Consumer confidence in the housing market hits the lowest point in over a decade. Yes, it's terrible right now, but could it get worse, or will the lack of demand backfire? What would happen if sellers and builders pull back at the same time? More on that coming up. For now, back to the CNBC post. They reported consumer confidence in the housing market dropped to the lowest level since 2011, as both prospective buyers and sellers have become more pessimistic, according to a monthly survey released Monday by Fannie Mae. CNBC is referring to Fannie Mae's National Housing Survey. I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out. In a nutshell, the Home Purchase Sentiment Index, or HPSI for short, dropped 2 points to 62.8, which again is the lowest we've seen since 2011. In fact, CNBC says just 17% of those surveyed in July said now is a good time to buy a home, down from 20% in June. Even more telling, however, is that the share of sellers who think it's a good time to list their homes dropped to 67% in July from 76% 2 months prior. When deciding if now is a good time for you to buy or sell a house, one should consider where the opportunities exist. For home buyers, that means how many homes are available for sale from traditional sellers and builders. For home sellers, that means how many pre-approved home buyers are in the market for your home's price range and how much you will need to adjust your expectations to the realities of the housing market. In both cases, the tenor of real estate negotiations will depend on the condition of the real estate market where you live. Just something to keep in mind as we move forward. Be sure to talk it out with your realtor. Speaking of that, if you want help finding a realtor for you, check out my friends over at homeandmoney.com/Andrew. You already know it's linked in the description of this video. For now, home buyers in many places are starting to gain the advantage. I'm seeing it here in Las Vegas from both sides of the fence, with the home buyers and sellers I have the privilege to work with. Perhaps that's one reason why Realtor.com recently published an article titled, is lowballing back, a buyer's guide to the lost art of offering below list price and getting it. Maybe that also explains why we are seeing ever increasing price reductions from both builders and traditional home sellers as they seek to find the right price in this shifting real estate market. Okay, home buyers, let's keep it real for a moment. One thing to keep in mind here is that there is a huge difference between lowballing in a way that gets your offer accepted and just being straight up certifiable. So please don't be certifiably crazy. It's just not healthy for you. For instance, it's one thing for a seller to agree to accept an offer that's 3% to 5% less than their list price versus asking a seller to drop their price 15% or more. Of course, the percentage will vary depending on the price of home you're looking to purchase. That said, be honest with yourself and don't set yourself up for failure with unrealistic expectations. Take the time to form a winning game plan with your realtor and learn the market conditions before you start looking at homes. Again, if you want help finding a realtor that cares about you, check out my friends at homeandmoney.com/Andrew. Thank you. With so many home buyers backing out of the housing market right now, like the 63,000 purchase cancellations we just talked about in this video right here, are the buyers that can comfortably buy a home right now making a colossal mistake by not doing so? In short, quite possibly yes. But before you run off like my Papillon getting caught where he doesn't belong, oh God, I love that little guy. He's so adorable. Hashtag fur baby dad.
Too cute.
Anyway, let me explain why there's an opportunity that might disappear as quickly as it came. What happens if both home sellers and builders pull back at the same time? Then we just might see the same old issue with housing shortages and high prices, but on a different day. Consider this post by Redfin. They say the housing market slowdown is starting to slow down. Fewer homeowners are listing their homes due to ebbing homebuyer demand. That's hampering the recent growth in housing supply that has been forcing sellers to slash their prices. From experience, it seems to take the market about 2 months to 4 months to acclimate to the new normal. So right now, that's one of the reasons why builders are running scared as they race to report healthy third quarter earnings and annual earnings later this year. So at least for now, there is a massive home buying opportunity in the housing market for ready home buyers. Unfortunately, it seems like most people aren't talking about that because maybe it's not the best clickbait, but it doesn't mean it's not true. Consider this post by Housing Wire. They say Tuesday's new home sales report missed expectations and had negative revisions, which isn't surprising given this sector of our economy simply can't handle higher mortgage rates. The housing market is in a recession, something the home builders and the National Association of Realtors now agree with me on, as this recent CNBC clip shows. Now, check out this post by MN News titled "New Home Sales Plummet 29.6% as Home Buyers Pull Back with Force." Now, bear with me here. I want to pull back the curtain for you with the current home buying opportunities before they vanish. Let's go back to the Housing Wire report for a moment. In the same post, they say that the missed expectations of the new home sales report have caused negative revisions. We just read that, right? So this means that the builders are done building new single-family homes until they make sure they can get rid of their 10.9 months of supply in an orderly manner. That is creating an opportunity for you if you want it. The post goes on to say, so for now, the builders will take their time with the homes under construction and make sure they offer enough incentives to unload the new home supply they're already dealing with. Earlier in this video, I promised you I would share an email received from a major builder showing their most recent price cuts. So let's take a look at this email received on August 23rd. As you can see in this email, the builder of this community dropped their lot premiums by 50%. For under construction homes, they are offering a 3% credit toward closing cost if a buyer uses their lender. They are also putting downward pressure on home prices. As you can see with the home site number 50, they reduced the price by almost $50,000 alone. How much more will the builders like this one slash their prices remains to be seen. At the same time, it won't be forever and it won't be for long. Take a look at this post by Real Trends on August 23rd. They quoted Nicole Bashad, one of Zillow's senior economists. She said, home builders have also pulled back activity after months of sustained hits to builder sentiment, reducing the number of new homes in the pipeline to be sold. That's not hyperbole either. In Fannie Mae's housing forecast for August 2022, if we scroll to where it reads percent change year over year under total housing starts, we can then pan over to the 2022 and 2023 columns. This is illuminating. The builders have already pulled back on their housing starts by negative 3.4 in 2022 and forecasting a further reduction of negative 15.2 housing starts in 2023. This is substantial, especially since we're already experiencing a housing shortage in the United States. Now look, I just want you to be aware of the truth to help you make a well-informed decision that is right for you. The truth is this: the best time to buy or sell a house is when the time is right for you in your life for the reasons important to you. Real estate markets will always go up, down, and all around. What doesn't change is where you are in your life when the time is right for you. Please keep that in mind and don't let anyone try to convince you otherwise. Okay, maybe you're thinking through your options and wondering what you should do next. So click here to watch how the home buying process works, or click here to learn 5 effective strategies to sell your house. Either way, the choice is yours. I look forward to seeing you in the following video. Until then, I'm sending you positive vibes. Everything goes your way.